Okay, so this is chapter 3, section 3, providing public goods, all that good stuff. So public goods, basically the book definition is a shared good or service for which it would be inefficient or impractical to make consumers, one, pay individually, and two, exclude those who did not pay. And that basically is saying that if it wouldn't be efficient for certain individuals to pay for it, or it would keep people from using it, like if Google built the interstate and only Google people would use it, that is not following the second one, and Google doesn't want to pay for all that crap, and that's following the first one. And so I know those two because those will definitely be on the quiz. And then the characteristics of public goods. To simplify funding for public goods, the government collects taxes, which we all know is great and doesn't steal any of our money. And we also do not exclude non-payers of taxes because the government is responsible for all of its citizens. So unless you make, I think it's 17 grand a year, you are excluded from paying taxes. And just because those people are excluded from paying taxes does not mean they're excluded from public goods, meaning that people who don't pay taxes are still able to use the freeway, are still able to go to the library, because those are public goods. And it's not practical for private businesses to fund public goods or charge those who benefit and exclude non-payers because they obviously don't want to pay the billions of dollars it costs to make freeways all over the country. And they can't really charge the people who use it. I mean, they could get tolls and stuff, but it wouldn't work that well. And how would they exclude other people that aren't paying for it? I don't know. And then any number of consumers can use a public good without reducing its benefits. So the example they use in the book is cars on the freeway. If there's only one car on the freeway, they're going the exact same speed as if there's 8 cars on the freeway. So any number of consumers can use the freeway without reducing its benefits to any other consumer. And then characteristics continued. Public goods are funded by the public sector, and the public sector is the part of the economy that involves the transactions of the government. Basically, that's saying the government gets your money in taxes, and then any transactions they do paying for different things, freeways, military, library, whatever, all that is transactions with the government, and that's all part of the public sector. Then the private sector has little to no incentive to produce public goods, and the private sector is the other part of the economy that involves the transactions of individuals and businesses. So if I went to Walmart to go buy myself a Snickers, I don't have any incentive to also fund the library by doing that. You ever gone to one of those self-checkouts and at the end it always says, press here to donate $5 to this? Has anyone ever pushed press donate on that thing? Plumber, just because you're a nice person doesn't mean everyone else is. We don't really have incentive to give our money to build stuff that the government's going to pay for. If the government's paying for food stamps, not very many people on their own are going to say, here, let me pay for your food. Like, the government can do that crap. Which is basically why the private sector has no incentive to produce public goods, and why the government has to do all of it. Because no one wants to pay billions of dollars for that stuff. Then cost and benefits. Cost is the most important factor in determining whether a good or service is produced as a public good. Meaning that if there's something that's public good that could be made for $10, it's more likely that someone would just say, you can have my $10 to do this. Then if it was 10 billion, no one's gonna be like, here, take my $10 billion to build this freeway. No, that's not gonna happen. And so there are two criteria for the cost-benefit analysis. The first criteria is that the benefit to the individual is less than the cost that each would have to pay if it were provided privately. That's basically saying that, so someone's benefiting from using the freeway by being able to drive on and get there really fast, but if it was produced privately, the cost that they pay to use it would be more than the benefit they're getting, so they just wouldn't use it. Because if you're driving on the freeway, but every mile you have to spend $50 to drive on the freeway, someone would just rather drive on that dirt road going beside the freeway and just ignore the speed limits. But I've definitely never done that. You guys don't get any ideas. So, yeah. So that's saying that no one wants to pay privately for something if the cost of it is more than they'd benefit from it. And the other criteria is that the benefits to society are greater than the total cost. So the benefits of the freeway is that someone living in New York can get to Los Angeles in like 4 days driving instead of like 6 months walking that crap. So basically the benefit to society is greater than total cost. So the government pays, say, $10 billion for this freeway. The benefit is greater than if each individual citizen going from New York to LA had to spend $100,000 together every time. They don't. They have to spend like $1,000 in gas to get there. So the benefit to society is greater than the total cost. And those will also be on the quiz, so know those. Okay, the free rider problem is the problem with public goods. And a free rider is someone who is unwilling to pay for a certain good or service, but who would get the benefits of it anyway if it were provided as public good. So every public good has this. Talk about welfare and food stamps. People on food stamps can't pay for food stamps, so they get it. But then when they can pay, they're supposed to go off food stamps. Not everyone does that. So they are known as free rider because they are unwilling to pay for the good or service, but they still get that benefit because it's provided for them as a public good by the government. Then this problem suggests that if the government stopped collecting taxes, which we all know will never happen even though it would be fantastic, and they ask for voluntary payment for public goods, many people would refuse to give money. Okay, many people means everybody. No one would give any money to the government if they didn't have to. That's just how it works. So basically with the freeways, if the government stopped providing repair work and everything as a public good and building new stuff, nothing's gonna happen because no single person is gonna be like, hey, let me pay $1,000 to replace that pothole. Be like, no, I'll just go around the freaking pothole. And that's a free rider problem. No one's gonna pay. No one's paying for this if the government doesn't make them. Because the government sucks. Okay, so market failures. Market failure is a situation in which a free market operating on its own doesn't distribute resources efficiently. So that's saying that the free market doesn't give resources to this and doesn't give resources to that equally and efficiently. And that's just how it is. It doesn't suggest that the free market system doesn't work. It basically just says a free market society operates by individuals making choices that determine what goods get made, how they get made, and who consumes the goods. But really, the free market, when people are doing that, no one's really wanting, if you're not a handicapped person, no one's paying or wanting a handicapped stall. So in the true free market society, there will be no handicapped parking spots. Because no one but handicapped people want those parking spots, because everyone wants to park as close as they can. So basically that's saying that free market economy will not distribute to certain public goods or different public goods because the people who don't need it don't want to. People that do need it can't do it. And so the criteria for a properly working market system don't exist when this happens. Because one of the examples that they use in the book is someone from New York they'll want freeways in their place. So sure, in a free market economy, they'll pay for roads and stuff in New York. But if Colorado needs a new road, no one in New York gives a crap about Colorado. So they're not paying for that. And so it's not a properly working market system. So externalities is the last thing in the section. And externalities is an economic side effect of a good or service that generates benefit or cost to someone other than the person deciding how much to produce or consume. Basically saying that someone who has absolutely nothing to do with the decision of the public good or anything at all is still going to benefit. Someone who doesn't vote doesn't get any say in whether this new tax plan is going to happen. They're still going to benefit or not benefit from the tax plan no matter what. Even if they don't go to vote, there's still an externality happening because it's still going on. So they can both be positive or negative. Positive externalities benefit many people, not just those who pay for the goods. So basically, taxpayers pay for all the roads and stuff, but people who don't make enough money to pay all their taxes still benefit. So it's positive because it benefits many people, not just those who pay their freaking taxes. And then negative externalities, because part or all of the good or service to be paid for by someone other than the producer, which freaking sucks. Because you don't want to pay for crap that you don't need. So if a producer decides to build an apartment building where your house is, and they pay you for your land and everything, and you're out of there, and then they say, hey, okay, so we're gonna need you to help pay for this apartment building. Everyone would be like, no, that's not going on, I'm not doing that. But that is a negative externality, especially if they wrote it into your contract that you have to do it like a bunch of douchebags. So, negative externalities are bad because they make other people pay for the good or service, not who's producing it. So, construction company doesn't have to pay for the road, taxpayers do it. Yeah, that's what I got. So, have fun, that quiz is gonna suck.